Recording in progress. Que nunca tienen final. Te perderás dentro de mis recuerdos por haberme hecho llorar. Nunca es suficiente para mí, porque siempre quiero más de ti. No ha cambiado nada mi sentir, aunque me haces mal, te quiero aquí. Mi corazón estalla de dolor. ¿Cómo evitar que se fracture en mí? Acostumbrado estás tanto amor que no lo ves. Yo nunca he estado así. Si de casualidad me ves llorando un poco, es porque yo te quiero aquí. Y tú te vas jugando a enamorar. Todas las ilusiones vagabundas que se dejan alcanzar, y no verás que lo que yo te ofrezco es algo incondicional. Y tú te vas jugando a enamorar. Te enredas por las noches entre historias que nunca tienen final. Te perderás dentro de mis recuerdos por haberme hecho llorar. Te perderás dentro de mis recuerdos por haberme hecho llorar. Thank you, gracias.
Good morning. My name is Carol Johnson, just like it was last week. And I'm today's service associate. Reverend Matt Alspaugh will be presenting our message this morning remotely from North Carolina. He returns here in 2 weeks. Our opening words this morning are by David Breeden. Welcome to this place where certainty transforms into questions. This place that takes what is and imagines what can be. Welcome to this space where what was fixed begins to shift, where rigidity embraces unfolding as we join in the dance of transformation. Welcome to this moment of change, where together we transfigure and transcend together. And so I just want to welcome you to our LCUUF Sunday service. May you find here what you are seeking. Our announcements were on a slideshow before the service and were also sent out with our weekly newsletter. If you are new and would like to receive that newsletter and other emails, please talk to a member of our welcome team or write to us at info@lcuuf.org. And now, a special welcome to our visitors. If you are visiting for the first time or have returned or reconnected after a long absence, we invite you to say your name and tell us where you're from. It should be on. If you're on Zoom, please introduce yourself in the chat box, and that'll be read aloud. We'll start with people here in the room.
My name is Frank Watson, and I am recently from Canada, but not from there, and I'm here as a religious tourist.
Excellent, thank you for coming.
I'm John Sproul from Toronto, Canada. We're here until the end of March, and I've been a Unitarian Universalist at Don Heights in Toronto for 30 years.
I'm Lydia Labate. I'm his wife, and same.
My name is Howard Silver. We're visiting for a couple weeks, and we're from Philadelphia, and we're longtime members of the Unitarian Society of Germantown.
Welcome.
And I'm his wife, Deb Kish Silver, and this is our grandson, Luke, and my son-in-law, Chris.
Welcome. Okay, and this morning we have the following new Zoom participants. Unless we don't. Nope, nobody here. Okay. Welcome to all our visitors and newcomers, both in person and on Zoom. And just a brief note, we offer a wide variety of services on various topics presented by our members, outside guests, as well as our minister, Reverend Matt Alspaugh. We hope you'll return to sample this variety of thought and belief. And now, let us light our chalice with, let me see these words first. Our chalice lighting words are by Betz Weinicke. May this flame, symbol of transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us. Now, having lit our chalice, let's sing these words together.
We kindle this light in celebration for the life that we share.
Each week, we take time to remind ourselves that we belong to a community which cares for each other. The sharing of joys, sorrows, and milestones is one way that we practice holding one another in community. We speak briefly what is in our hearts, sharing any significant joys or sorrows in our lives, because there's power in the sharing. We'll start with the folks in the room to give those on Zoom a chance to type joys or sorrows into the chat to be read aloud by someone. And first, let us voice our sorrows. And I want to note today we have a little bit something different. For sorrows, we're going to be dropping the pebble into the beautiful bowl. And for joys, we're going to light a candle. So that's a change. Whatever you or the world may be holding that is in need of our healing and caring thoughts, as each person speaks of a sorrow, we'll drop a stone into the bowl. Okay.
Are there any sorrows to share in the room?
Yes, my sorrow is for Reverend Robin Negro, or Moore is her other name. She's the Anglican priest who's really on her last legs and dying from cancer. And I met her years ago at Laredo in a lineup waiting for papers to come into Mexico, and that's where I first met her.
Just want everyone to continue to pray for the Middle East, for Israel, and for Gaza.
Yes, I have a sorrow. I'm sorry that my friend Christy Caldwell had to move back to Orlando. She had significant health problems and couldn't stay here. So she's no longer here. She'll be here for a visit and wind up everything in April. And she's leaving for good. So I'm very sorry about that.
So I would like a stone for a friend who has been diagnosed with breast cancer and for wishes for the best possible outcome.
I would like to light a candle for the people of Haiti and the Sudan. We do not pay enough attention to them, and there's as much famine there as there is in Gaza.
No.
I'm David, and I want to remember my friend Rabbi Philip, who is fighting cancer very valiantly.
Thank you. I'm Teresa, and I have a combination of joy and sorrow. The sorrow is that John has been diagnosed with a tumor. The joy is that it was caught early, it's small, and we have a treatment plan. He's going to have surgery this coming week, and I'll be flying there to be with him through this. And we have confidence in the specialist who will be removing it.
All right, are there any sorrows to be shared from Zoom?
Yes, we do. We have one this morning from Colleen. Despite some very good experiences recently in Texas, I am also receiving some unsettling news regarding my health. We'll share more with the care team and Matt.
All right. And now, let us recall the joys. Whatever you may be celebrating, whatever evokes a feeling of joy or peace for yourself or others. We will light candles this time. For as each person speaks of a joy, we will light a small candle. Joys in this room.
My name is Heidi. I have a joy. I was away for a week and spent time with my best friend and her husband in Puerto Vallarta, and I came back to find that many of the people who had been not well over the last 2 months in this area are doing much better, and it looks like they're on the way to a full recovery. So that's my joy. I wish all of them good health.
Hi, I'm Mardell, and along with Fred, my husband, our joy is having been back in Ahihic for almost 2 months. We sold our house here after being here for about 20 years last year and moved back to Canada, and we weren't sure what it would be like coming back, but it's been wonderful. So.
Now this is the tag team match. And part of that joy is being part of this fellowship. It's been an important part of us for a long time. We were part of the people who founded it many years ago and have been quite active for many years. Mardell in music on the Sunday service committee, and I on the board and in delivering sermons and meeting people here. It's been so wonderful. So we are sorry to miss you, and we expect to be back sometime over the next month. We don't exactly know when. Delightful to be here.
Hi, I'm Bobby Dannenbrink. I have a joy, but I'm going to preface it with a little story. Years ago, 30 years ago, my husband and I adopted a little 4-year-old girl. We got her through school, high school, college. I bored you with everything that she ever did, including being Mardi Gras queen and then finally marrying a doctor, which was just wonderful. Anyway, she's doing great, and 4 years ago she had a little boy, and just this past week she had a little girl. And so that's the end of the story, I guess, for now. And that's it, too. No more babies. Just.
So it's a joy, and that is that I found a surgeon who's going to operate on me tomorrow. And it's a very simple procedure. I have pain. I thought it was really bad stuff. He says it's a tiny little pressure on the bottom of my spine, and laser surgery will do it, and I can walk home. He said walk home after. But you know what? I'm going to take a taxi.
Good luck.
Hi, I'm John Duvall. I just want to tell you we went to the concert of Michael Peoples yesterday, and it was a smash. And I think we're awfully lucky to have people like that in this area.
Hi, I'm Priscilla. This is Ted. We just recently returned from a month up in San Diego County. I had the extraordinary privilege of having our daughter ask me to be with her through the labor and delivery of her son. And it was an amazing experience to be there for that. And I'm so grateful that she allowed me to be part of that process for her. And Aiden is 1 month old this week and is simply beautiful.
Hi, I'm Phyllis, and my husband and I survived COVID. We were sick for a couple of weeks, but we're fine now, thank God. And my son came back from a wonderful trip to Europe, and he survived it.
And you did too.
I'm Michael, and excuse me for repeating, but yes, I want to celebrate Michael Reasoning and the Lake Chapala Orchestra. It was just a phenomenal, fantastic day yesterday, and we are so fortunate.
And I'm Richard. I have a joy of my own, and that is that this week I got my first Yahoo book published. It's a commentary on a book written by Ramana Maharshi, and I'm just real happy to get that done.
You mean Amazon, not Yahoo. All right. Are there any joys to be shared on Zoom?
Yes, we do. We've got one from John Adams. I am joyful to be reuniting with Teresa in Toronto this week. And I would just like to wish a very happy St. Paddy's Day to all of us here who have even a little bit of Irish in our blood.
Very good. And this candle from our care team represents the joys and sorrows we hold in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. We light this candle for all those unspoken sorrows and joys. Let us share a moment of silence to hold in our hearts both the sorrows and the joys that have been shared this morning. There are many ways to be of service to LCUUF. Our time, treasure, and talents are all necessary components to a healthy fellowship. Now is the time in our service when we ask you to share the gift of treasure through pledging and donations. Instructions for payments to the fellowship are on a slide before the service every week. As we pass the baskets, if you're new here or if you're struggling to hold things together, let the basket pass you by. Your presence is more than enough and is a gift to us. For the month of March, we're supporting Food Bank Lakeside. Food Bank Lakeside works to relieve the chronic food poverty in our most disadvantaged neighborhoods in numerous villages here along Lake Chapala by collaborating with donors, volunteers, businesses, and community organizations to ease suffering and offer the hope of a brighter future throughout the lakeside community. If you're not attending the fellowship in person, please donate to Share the Basket when you pay your pledge. Donate to Share the Basket separately, or indicate what part of your donation is for Share the Basket. The offering has now been generously given and gratefully received. Our opening hymn this morning is God of Grace. It was written by the great liberal Protestant minister Henry Emerson Fosdick in 1930. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing. Our first reading is by the 20th century existentialist philosopher and Lutheran theologian Paul Tillich from the book Shaking the Foundations. Grace strikes us when we are in great pain and restlessness. It strikes us when we walk through the dark valley of a meaningless and empty life. It strikes us when we feel that our separation is deeper than usual, because we have violated another life, a life which we loved, or from which we were estranged. It strikes us when our disgust for our own being, our indifference, our weakness, our hostility, and our lack of direction and composure have become intolerable to us. It strikes us when, year after year, the longed-for perfection of life does not appear, when the old compulsions reign within us as they have for decades, when despair destroys our all joy and courage. Sometimes, at that moment, a wave of light breaks into our darkness. If that happens to us, we experience grace. After such an experience, we may not be better than before, we may not believe more than before, but everything is transformed. Our second reading is by the Persian poet Hafiz and translated by Daniel Ladinsky, titled, "We Have Not Come Here to Take Prisoners." We have not come here to take prisoners, but to surrender ever more deeply to freedom and joy. We've not come into this exquisite world to hold ourselves hostage from love. Run, my dear, from anything that may not strengthen your precious budding wings. Run like hell, my dear, from anyone likely to put a sharp knife into the sacred, tender vision of your beautiful heart. We have a duty to befriend those aspects of obedience that stand outside our house and shout to our reason, oh please, come out and play. For we have not come here to take prisoners or to confine our wondrous spirits, but to experience ever and ever more deeply our divine courage, freedom, and light. And now we'll have Matt giving our presentation this morning on Zoom from North Carolina.
Good morning or afternoon. It's 2 o'clock here. Now, while I don't like to think of myself as I do like to think of myself as a rational person, a logical person, I do have some of those little superstitious foibles that I haven't gotten rid of. Maybe superstitions light. I mean, I will sometimes say, knock on wood for good luck, and then I'll go looking for some wood, even some imitation wood to tap on. Or when I drive by a bad accident on the carretera, I might silently say to myself, and I think there's a slide here, yeah, there, but by the grace of God go I, even though this makes no sense to me now. I mean, I don't even believe in that kind of God, a God who would offer grace to some of us and not others. God of grace? Really? Do I need this kind of grace? What is grace, anyways? Grace is one of those words whose meaning has been so shape-shifted by so many flavors of Christianity that it is hard to use the word without confusion. It joins words like faith, evil, and salvation, words which themselves have been twisted into knots and overloaded with multiple meanings. Depending on your flavor of Christianity, grace could have many meanings. There's sanctifying grace and actual grace. There's sola gratia, that is grace alone, irresistible grace, and prevenient grace, and maybe a few other more obscure variations that keep the theologians busy. I like what that 4th century theologian Augustine said about grace when he wondered, what is grace? I know until you ask me, but when you ask me, I do not know. That's a bit more like it. At least that's a bit more like where I'm at with grace. But this word grace can have meaning, even utility for us as Unitarian Universalists. The great mid-century modern Christian theologian Paul Tillich wrote that grace does not mean that we suddenly believe that God exists or that Jesus is the Savior or that the Bible contains the truth. He summarizes his point. To believe that something is almost contrary to the meaning of grace. So grace is not merely about belief. To Tillich, grace is active. Grace is something that strikes us, that happens to us. Grace strikes us when we are in great pain and restlessness, he says. It strikes us when we walk through the dark valley of a meaningless and empty life. And so it is in the hours and days and months of despair, isolation, estrangement, self-loathing, and grief that we most appreciate this sudden appearance of grace, which he calls a wave of light that breaks into our darkness. If that happens to us, we experience grace. After such an experience, we may not be better than before, and we may not believe more than before, but everything is transformed. End quote. So grace offers the possibility of sudden transformation an awakening perhaps, an enlightenment. We see the world in a new way. The Islamic mystics, particularly the Sufis, understood this kind of transformation too. The 13th century Persian poet Jalaluddin Rumi, here translated by the poet Coleman Barks, tells us about it. This poem is called A Worm's Awakening. This is how a human being can change. There's a worm addicted to eating grape leaves. Suddenly he wakes up, call it grace, whatever. Something wakes him and he's no longer a worm. He's the entire vineyard and the orchard too, the fruit, the trunks of a growing wisdom and joy that doesn't need to devour. As spiritual seekers, we may long to experience the grace that can offer such a massive transformation. But grace may also come in very small ways. Grace may come to us in those small gifts, surprises, moments of good fortune that happen to us and around us if we only pay attention to them. Grace may come to us in the everyday through events called synchronicity. Now, synchronicity is another one of those terms that has had its meaning distorted by a religious community. In this case, New Age spirituality. So distorted that it's hard to get back to the original sense. I mean, I've heard many people talk about synchronicity in their lives, and I've always understood them to be talking about some kind of divine intervention by God or the universe, an intervention that lines up life events so they go click, click, click like tumblers in a safe's lock. It's a lovely concept, and I don't want to quibble with them, since most of the time these synchronous events they talk of are joyful ones. Someone loses their job and suddenly gets an out-of-the-blue offer for a better one. A chance encounter in the grocery store leads to a friendship or a relationship. Drop a greenback in the Salvation Army bucket and an unexpected insurance refund check appears in the mailbox. Synchronicity is how I came here to LCUUF over 6 years ago. I was sitting at home in Northeast Ohio looking out the window at another gray February day, 2 feet of snow on the ground. I was reading the minister's chat list on my computer and noticed a posting saying, "How would you like to serve a congregation whose building has no heat and no air conditioning?" Now, I was in the early stages of looking to move on from Youngstown. And so I turned to Liz and said, "What would you think about a stint in a congregation in Mexico?" Now, it helped immensely that we'd just been to Mexico for the first time a month earlier, staying 2 weeks at a language immersion school in Merida, so the idea of Mexico didn't scare us away. And it helped that while this was a first ministry for LCUUF, it was a kind of a three-way arrangement. And I would also be working with First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston for supervision and collegiality. And it helped that because of this arrangement, I'd get paid in dollars and not pesos. Synchronicity? Maybe. Grace? Well, maybe the grace for me, at least, was that the three-way arrangement provided me enough security to even consider the job. I hope you too consider this event to have been an act of grace. But synchronicity has a deeper and more interesting meaning. Carl Jung invented the term synchronicity to describe events that happen at the same time, not because they necessarily have a related cause, but because they have a related meaning. Jung invented the word when a coincidental event happened to him as he was working with a psychotherapy patient. This patient was particularly resistant to Jung's invitation to explore her unconscious, but she had had a dream in which a golden scarab beetle had appeared. Just as she was describing the dream, a real beetle banged against the inside of his cabinet window. Jung caught it and discovered it was a golden scarab beetle, unusual for that locale and season. He showed it to the patient, and the event helped her to break through and make progress in therapy. Jung concluded that events are synchronous because we see them that way. We connect them together and find greater meaning thereby, as he was able to do with his patient. I find this understanding of synchronicity much more satisfying than my earlier understanding. It's not the universe or God running around behind my back, making things happen with spooky simultaneity. Rather, it's how I or we perceive and connect the events that happen around us and come to a greater understanding of the universe by noticing their synchronicity. So what might this greater understanding, this deeper meaning offer us? How might we use it to understand grace? Well, let's look at a related emotion, awe. When you go outside on a dark, clear, dry night, maybe one of those that comes after a cool front blows through, maybe when you get away from the city lights and look up in the dark heavens, you might see some 3,000 stars. Now, even though it looks like a lot of stars, it's just a handful of the stars in our galaxy, for there are something like 100 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And the Milky Way is just one galaxy too, and there are something like 100 billion galaxies out there in our observable universe. And that's just the observable universe. We know that the early universe expanded in a phase of growth called inflation that would have carried a lot of the universe far away, well out of our ability to observe it. And because we cannot observe it, we can't even be sure how much is there. So whatever forces or creator gods created this universe, they were mighty generous with the raw materials. That's the awesome part. The message today is not so much that we are such tiny beings on a little planet tucked away in the middle of this awesome universe. That would have fit a sermon on humility, perhaps. But how do we deal with the fact that we seem to be alone in this universe? Well, we are here, and we haven't encountered any other intelligent beings, so we do seem to be alone. Now, I personally cannot believe, and I know this is faith, I cannot believe that this universe, however it was created, would be so parsimonious that we would be the only sentient beings in existence. Now, it may be true that sentient life is rare for various reasons. The conditions have to be just right, or maybe we don't last very long as species. Whatever. But I do want to believe that there are other sentient beings out there. But we do seem to be alone, unique. In his classic book, The Road Less Traveled, M. Scott Peck describes grace as, and I quote, a powerful force that exists outside human consciousness and nurtures the spiritual growth of human beings. Let me repeat, grace is a powerful force that exists outside of human consciousness and nurtures the spiritual growth of human beings. Now, I'm willing to go along with this as he describes this force as the organizing, evolving force that works in opposition to the disorganizing force of, no, not evil, but entropy. That is to say, the universe is gradually falling apart due to increasing entropy. But within all that falling apart, there are pockets, eddies, little locales, where evolution drives the organization of biochemicals into cellular life, and then to multicellular life, and then plants and animals, and ultimately intelligent, self-aware creatures like ourselves. Peck's comment suggests that the highest aspect of evolution is our development and growth as spiritual beings, extending out perhaps beyond our scientific understanding of evolution to a more spiritual understanding. Indeed, this spiritual development could be part of our purpose in this universe. Maybe we are the eyes and ears, the rational intelligence of the universe, and we are becoming the spiritual intelligence in the universe as well. We are the universe coming to understand itself. Hence, I have my faith that there must be other sentient beings with different perspectives, offering multiple personalities for the universal mind. But what of the highest aspect of our evolution, the part that drives us to grow and develop as spiritual beings? Peck gives this creative spiritual drive a name: love. He says, "It is through love that we elevate ourselves, and it is through love for others that we assist others to elevate themselves. Love, the extension of the self, is the very act of evolution. It is evolution in progress. The evolutionary force present in all of life manifests itself in humankind as human love. Among humanity, love is the miraculous force that defies the natural law of entropy." And so this love is the gift of the universe, of whomever or whatever created the universe and its laws and conditions. This love is nurtured through grace, and so it is difficult to put into words. Of all those who understand this love, and all those who try to find words to describe this love, I find the words of those Sufi Muslim mystics, in loose translation by Western poets, most clear and vivid and true. The 14th century Persian poet Shams Duddin Mohammed Hafiz, here translated by Daniel Ladinsky, offers those words which we heard earlier. "We have not come here to take prisoners, but to surrender ever more deeply to freedom and joy. We have not come into this exquisite world to hold ourselves hostage from love. We have a duty to befriend those aspects of obedience that stand outside of our house and shout to our reason, oh please, come out and play. For we have not come here to take prisoners or to confine our wondrous spirits, but to experience ever and ever more deeply our divine courage, freedom, and light." Could not grace, source of that nurturing love, be calling us to, oh, please come out and play? Could not grace breaking in on us, transforming us, carry us away and abandon to freedom and joy? Or consider the words of the Persian poet Jalaluddin Rumi, again translated by Daniel Ladinsky, words which say, "On a day when the wind is perfect, the sail just needs to open, and the world is full of beauty. On a day when the wind is perfect, the sail just needs to open, and the love starts. Today is such a day." Like Tillich's wave of light, grace breaks through. Grace fills the open sail and brings transforming love. Grace is not so amazing. Grace is not so rare. Grace is every day. Today is such a day. Blessed be.
Our closing hymn is "For All That Is Our Life." Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build a common good and make our own days glad.
Closing words by Matt.
Our closing words are from Rumi. Pale sunlight, pale the wall, love moves away, the light changes. I need more grace than I thought. Let us go with grace and peace. Blessed be.
Let us extinguish our chalices with these words which we read together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts and share with all the world.
When tonight has come and the land is marked and the moon is the only I will see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand, darling, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon to tumble and fall, all the mountains to crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand, darling, stand by me. Stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand, darling, stand by me. Stand by me. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you, Fernanda. Our worship is over. Our service begins. Go in peace and with a purpose.